watching S&B Outdoors. Discover the world around you.
Hello everybody, and welcome to another S&B Outdoors cooking video. We're going to be checking out how to cook pheasant meat. We're coming up on October, which will soon be November, soon be pheasant season, so I figured I needed to clean out the freezer and do some wild game cooking before all the hunting season gets going again. So I had a few pheasants left over here on my board over here, so I figured I'd whip up something that's one of my favorite recipes or ways to eat pheasant. Pheasant is a very lean meat, and it is a very tasty meat. So what we're going to do is we're going to be cooking smothered pheasant over rice is what we're going to be doing. We're going to do that with lovely corn on the cob is what we're going to have that with, as well as cooking that with some onions. You're going to need one large onion. You're going to need a couple cloves of garlic. You're going to need some dried thyme, or fresh thyme would be even better. You're also going to need some fresh basil is what you're going to be using, as well as some chicken stock and a good cheap bottle of Chardonnay wine to bring it all together. That should be about it for your ingredients. Fairly simple, of course, salt, pepper, all those normal things that come along with it. But let's go ahead and come down to the countertop here, and I'll show you how this is all put together, all right? Okay, so here we go. So now we're down to the countertop here. I'm going to move this to the side. We're going to be getting into our pheasant meat. We're going to cut our package open. So there are some wonderful pieces of pheasant meat, pheasant breast meat that we've harvested. So what we're going to do now is we're going to take and put them in some flour. So I'm going to wash my hands real fast. Okay, so I'm just going to use a small mixing bowl here. I'm going to grab me some flour and move some of these ingredients out of the way. Grab me some flour, I don't know, maybe like a cup or so, I don't know. Just dump a little bit. A little bit of flour in there, I don't know, maybe a cup, cup and a half. Just a little bit of flour. Dump that in there. Get the lid back on my flour here. So we're going to do that. Season your flour, so definitely give it some salt. So we're going to give it some salt, give it some pepper, definitely give it some seasoning. And then what we're going to do is I'm also going to throw in there some wonderful dried thyme. So I've got some thyme. I'm going to throw a lot of that dried thyme in there. Fresh thyme is always best. For any time you can use fresh ingredients is always best, but that's what I got. So I'm going to mix this all together just so that's kind of like that. All right, so we're going to move over to the pan here. We're going to get that going. So we're going to go ahead and turn this on, I'd say medium high. We're going to throw a little bit of extra virgin olive oil in that pan because that's what we'll use to fry it up with. Next thing that we're going to need is we're going to need to chop up. I'm going to switch cutting board since my other cutting board has whatever it is, raw meat on it. All right, so now we're going to cut up our onion. So I'm just going to kind of roughly slice it because you're just wanting the flavor. You're not really going to keep the onions because ultimately we will make a gravy. So when we make the gravy, we really don't need all the big pieces of onion. So I'm just going to roughly chop this thing. I'm going to peel it here. So now what we're going to do is we're just going to pop this puppy in half. And we're just going to give ourselves some slices here. So we'll just slice this up. Doesn't have to be perfect. Oops, some of it's escaping from me here. Doesn't have to be perfect. Just has to be slices. So you just slice it. Okay. All right. So I'll give us, and then I kind of break them up to where I get my little onion curls. Just like so. Alrighty. So that's good for our onions. Now we get to do some garlic. Now I'm just going to peel this garlic because I'm going to use one of these cool garlic smashers. I don't know, to me I feel like I get more garlicky flavor out of it rather than slicing it. If you're just putting it in for flavor, it's not that big of a deal. You don't have to slice it all nice and pretty, right? So here we go. Garlic is fun because you get to beat it. I'm not caring about whether it's pretty or not. I just need it out of the wrapper. So I'm just going to smush it. And if it's a little mushed, that's okay. We're going to run it through the squisher anyway. If you don't have one of those squishers, by all means, chop this up. I like to take the ends off. Call me crazy. but I like to take the ends off. It just bothers me. I feel like I'm going to be eating this hard thing. That's just me personally. So take that off. All right, so we're ready. Okay, so now what we're going to do is we're going to take these and we're going to wait for our oil to get hot. So my oil's getting hot here. And what we're going to do is we're then going to run the pheasant through our stuff here, what we just mixed up, our flour. Sorry, I can't think. But we're going to run it through our flour and thyme mixture, and then we're going to sear it. Okay, so we're going to put it in this pan and we're going to sear it off. Once we sear it off, we're going to add the onions and the garlic, and then we're going to cook that down. All right, so here we go. So I'm going to get ready. I'm going to move my corn over because we'll get to that in a minute. So grab my meat here. Okay, so we got our meat, and then we got our stuff here. So what we're going to do is we're going to run those through and then drop them into the hot pan. So here we go. So here's our hot pan. All right. So fork out here. We don't need to mix anymore. So we're just going to put that in there, roll it around in all that flour, get it nice and coated. Just like that. See that? So nice and coated, and then in we go. Do that to the rest of them. Just roll them around in there and then drop them in. Always drop things away from you so that if there's any cooking oil that wants to splatter, it doesn't splatter you. Not going to take very long. All right, a quick wash of the hands. Now we're going to check them. A little longer. Yeah, a little bit longer. A little bit longer. That one's getting pretty good. Put it on the edge there. How's this big boy going? Okay, good. We'll let these kind of sear off. So while these are searing, I'm going to go ahead and kind of work on a couple things at once. I may start getting my corn ready. All right, let's check these bad boys. Not yet. Not yet. Guys, this guy's getting there, so I'm going to flip him over. He's getting there. Okay, all right. Good. Good to go. So now, our corn now. All right, so got our corn here. Cut this package open. So what I like to do is I like to wash my corn. You see it, it's got all the little hairs still on it because it's fairly fresh. Some of it even has some of the stalks still on it. So I know it looks weird. The easiest way is just rub it. Like pet the corn cob. And I like to break the ear in half or close to a half. I know sometimes it doesn't break cleanly. And we're going to check on our stuff because I do not want that to burn. I just want it to sear. So now we're to this point. I'm going to go ahead and throw in our onions, and we'll get our garlic here in a minute. So there's our onions, put our garlic in the squisher, squish that out over there, and we'll also take a quick butter knife, cut that out, and get that in there. All right. Now we'll turn the heat down a little bit. Not a lot, because you still want it to cook. I'm going to put them on the cutting board here, because I don't want them to dry out too much, because they will. They will totally dry out. So we'll let these onions kind of sweat down. All right, so now comes time to put pheasant back in. There we go. All right, bottle of wine. Woohoo! Throw that in there. I want this to go in nice and hot because that will help deglaze the pan. That stuff will come right off the bottom. So I'm going to let that kind of bubble a little bit with that wine, leach some of that flavor out of that onion, leach it out of the garlic that's in there with it. Oh yeah, it's going to be great. All right. Now I'm going to turn it up a little bit because we want to turn the heat up a little bit because we're kind of cooling it all down by putting all this cold stuff in there. So now we're going to dump, and we just want to kind of fill up the edges. This is what we kind of want to do. We want to just fill it up to the edge. Now, you do want to keep your chicken stock and your wine nearby, because as this cooks, it's going to reduce, and we're going to lid it here in a minute. Once we get it to a simmer, we'll throw a lid on it and turn it down on low and just let it sit there and simmer. But of course, some will evaporate, so you're going to want to check on it for a little while, and we're going to put add a little more fluid back in there, because we do want that gravy and we don't want it to evaporate, get thick, and then dry out. Okay, so we'll do that. Okay guys, so now that we're coming up to a simmer, I'm going to turn it down to, I don't know, maybe a notch before low or so. I don't know, you probably can't see that, but I'm going to turn it down to low, and then we're going to throw a lid on it. So I grab my lid and we're just going to lid it. Alright, so that's going to sit there. Oh wait, I forgot something. We got to put some basil in there. Forgot about that. So before we put the lid on it, we're going to take some fresh basil. We're just going to throw some fresh basil down on there. That really gives a great flavor to the pheasant, as well as a great flavor to the sauce when we make the gravy afterwards. Fresh basil on there. Now we're going to put the lid on and leave it on low. This is going to cook for about an hour. You're going to kind of peek at it here and there, but about an hour. That's right around in where it's going to go. We'll let this water heat up for our corn, and we'll get all that ready. All right, and then you always want to go 15 minutes before the hour is up, start making your rice, and I'll show you how to do that when we come back. Okay guys, so it's been almost an hour. So what we're going to do is we're going to get our rice ready. All right, so first thing we're going to need one of these kind of like colander type deals. So we're going to need one of these, and then we're going to need some rice. All right, you always got to wash your rice, or at least I always like to wash it. Oops, I'm kind of spilling it here. But what we're going to do is we're going to do 1.5 cups, all right? So, sounds like people are coming in. So I'm going to do 1, and then we're going to do 1/2 of a cup, something like that. Throw it in there. And then what we're going to do is we're going to go over to the sink, and we're going to run this underwater. Okay, now that we have rinsed our rice, we're going to throw it into our pan, or pot. And then what we're going to do is we're going to add some of our chicken stock to it. So we're going to add, I don't know, just a little bit. Normally you do for rice, whatever you put in, you double it, and that's how much liquid you need to put in. So we're going to do, if we did 1.5, that's going to be 3. So we need 3 cups of liquid. So I'm going to put a little bit of chicken stock in there, and then we're also going to grab the chicken stock. Will help to put a little fat in there. It also gives it a little more flavor, and it just works a little bit better. So over the stove, put it on this back burner here, and we're going to bring it up to a boil. Now the trick to this is you bring it up to a boil, you let it boil, and it's going to foam, okay? So it'll foam everywhere when it does this. You just kind of blow on it, just kind of blow some air across it, the foam will go down, but you let it foam up, and then once it stops foaming up so bad, like it'll start to kind of go down, it just won't foam up, horribly bad, then you're going to throw your lid on. You throw your lid on, and it's pretty much 10 minutes from there. Looks like our water for our corn is beginning to boil here, and I'm going to switch to my bigger burner. So I'll throw that in once we get this up to temp, okay? Okay, so we got a nice rolling boil here, so I'm going to go ahead and drop our little corn pieces right on in there. We'll move this to the front, move that to the back burner, and that way we can get this guy going. So our gravy here, what we're going to do is we're going to have to thicken it a little bit because it will be watery when it's over. So we're going to use some good old cornstarch. I take maybe about a tablespoon of this or so. I use a fork. Maybe a tablespoon, maybe a tablespoon and a half. I'm just going to leave that, just the stuff in the cup. And we'll add some water to it, probably about, I don't know, maybe 4 tablespoons of water. Now that the bubbles are going, we'll start waiting for that to rise, okay? So it should rise up here in a bit. And here it comes. So now I'm just going to blow on it. I'll make that go down. I think I'm going to lid it now. Lid it, turn it to low, and you do not touch it. Okay, guys, so it looks like we're about done here. So we're gonna go ahead and unlid it. Ooh, yeah, see, now it's all nice and fluffy. That's all you gotta do. First things first, I'm gonna get these guys out of here. Get these guys picked up here. So, okay, so we got our strainer. So we're just going to strain this out into there. So I'm now gonna mix this all up and then we just dump it in. All right. Always taste what you're doing. That needs salt. All right, we get another little spoon of this. Oh, perfect. Absolutely perfect. So now let's go ahead and let's bring this all together and let's build it all, okay? So I'm gonna come over here to our plate and get a nice big helping of our rice. Maybe a little more. Get our rice here, just like that. We are going to grab a nice big piece of our magnificent pheasant. Oh, beautiful. Nice cob of corn, and then some of that absolutely magnificent gravy. Ooh. All right, everybody. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is smothered pheasant over rice with corn on the cob on the side. And of course, we're gonna load it up with lots of butter. We'll probably put some bread with that too. I've got some bread in the deal, some baguette, or just sliced regular buttered bread. Texas toast would be absolutely magnificent with that. So guys, thank you very much for sticking with me through this whole cooking process. If you'd like to see more cooking videos, definitely give it a thumbs up and let me know down in the comments. Definitely comment, let me know. And let me know if you try this recipe and if you really enjoy it. All right guys, we'll see you next time. I'm gonna get to eating and I'm gonna feed my family with the wonderful harvest that we got of pheasant. Thank you very much and we'll see you next time.